It's Thursday afternoon. Welcome to the MyRehab Cafe video podcast, everyone. The MyRehab Cafe private and unsearchable secret Facebook group is the aftercare branch of the MyRehab group of dual diagnosis addiction centers, or ARC as it was formerly known as. The MyRehab centers are private inpatient drug and alcohol rehab centers that offer high quality healthcare and high quality outcomes. The MyRehab Cafe Facebook group has exclusive access to loads of content that isn't available in any of the MyRehab public channels. Some of the content includes workshops, lectures, and support groups hosted in conjunction with some of the treating providers of the MyRehab inpatient centers. These treating providers are psychologists, social workers, wellness counselors, and volunteers who have extensive experience in the field. Group members also participate in movie and book reviews, and from time to time also face-to-face events. If at the moment you are not a member of the MyRehab Cafe, you are likely watching this on a public channel, which means that you will have between 10 and 20 minutes of access to this live broadcast before we switch over exclusively to the private and unsearchable MyRehab Cafe Facebook group. Remember to sign up and join the MyRehab Cafe, guys, as this is where the interesting parts of the live videos happen. MyRehab Cafe is free to anyone who has been through the MyRehab inpatient process. If you haven't been through the inpatient process, but you want to find out how to join the MyRehab Cafe, please check out the MyRehab Cafe website, which you'll find at www.myrehab.com. I'll say it again for you, www.myrehab.com. If you want to participate in this workshop, please join in via the video or audio via the link in the comment section and leave a comment, and hopefully it will be able to be brought on screen and we can see what we can do about answering the questions that you have. If you are currently a MyRehab Cafe member and you want a greater degree of anonymity or confidentiality, wait for us to end the broadcast on the public channels before hopping on or posting. I'll make an announcement when we're switching over. So with that said, folks, let's get started for today as we kind of take things forward. And as per usual on a Thursday, we kind of begin with two quotes. So if you could bring those up, please, Christy. Now, today, we're going to be focusing on communication and the importance of communication for recovery. So these two quotes kind of have got something to see for that. The first is Isaac Newton, who kind of said, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." And I think one of the things that's really important for us in our recovery is to be able to focus on those people who are around us as our support network. That we can only do this and come through our recovery by joining in with others, by standing on their shoulders, by having their support, by getting their encouragement, and for taking it forward. Newton was asked the question, how did he kind of develop his kind of system which led to modern mathematics? And this was his answer. So it wasn't about him saying, look, I can do everything by myself and I'm brilliant and I'm wonderful and all other things related to it. But rather he was in a place where he recognized those people who'd gone before him, those people who were his teachers, those people who were with him at that point who made a difference. And I think that's really important for all of us going forward to be able to remember that. And then the second quote, "Teamwork begins by building trust. And the only way to do that is to overcome our need for invulnerability." Now, I think an important part of all our recoveries is to be vulnerable, to be able to learn to share ourselves with other people. But if we have this sense that it's all about me, I must be the best, I must be top dog, then we're never going to be in a place to be able to share ourselves with other people. We're never going to be in a place where we're going to be able to listen to them, to hear their stories, how their stories also affect us, and for us to be able to take this forward. So these are just some of the quotes that I came up with today, which I think speak to us about our need for other people, also the need for us to look at ourselves and the way in which we are with others. So let's get moving. And if we can move on to the next slide, please. You'll also see that in the notes, we kind of state where this is from. And it's from a wonderful little book, which is called Relationship Workbooks for Couples, a guide to deeper connection, trust, and intimacy for couples young and old. And while the book may be particularly for couples, I think the communication guidelines that she comes up with are important for all aspects of our life and for taking things forward from there. So that's kind of why we're basing them on this and taking this forward today. So it may seem kind of obvious to us that good communication is the foundation of every healthy, functioning relationship. Everything that comes together, okay, is the way in which we are able to share ourselves with others and others share themselves with us. Part of the difficulty for us when we're in addiction is we often kind of retreat into ourselves. We don't share ourselves. We're not in a place where we want to kind of tell other people just the difficulties that we're going through, because for many reasons, we've been hurt before. People haven't heard us before. We've shared stuff. People have mocked us. We've made ourselves vulnerable. People have come at us with that. So it creates all of this time and place. But the one aspect that is almost entirely always in our hands is this aspect of communication. This ability to be in a place where we can look at our words, we can look at our tone, we can look at our body language, whether we kind of closed, whether we open, and be in a place where we can control our reactions also to what other people say. So we also shape the world around us through our language. We shape our own inner selves through the words that we say and the way in which we relate to other people. So it's really important to be in this place. And because we know that good communication skills positively impact on all aspects of our lives. And as we kind of go through this, I think a thing that's also really important to remember is that communication is also what happens in the head of the person that we're talking to. Now, many times, I'm sure you'll have also had this experience where you say something to somebody and you think you've said it well and clearly and openly, and the response you get just kind of is, wow, where did that come from? What was all that about? Because we can only control so much. We cannot control what happens in the head of the person or persons that we're talking to. So you might be able to say to somebody 1 + 1 = 2, and they're sitting and hearing that you've called them the worst names under the world. We need to remember that. We need to be able to focus on what we can control, on where we are, and also understand that we cannot control what happens in the head of somebody else. And that's part of the problem sometimes in our communication, especially when we're trying to get clean, is we think that people must just understand where we are and what's going through. But they are looking at us through different lenses. And I've heard this really many times through the clients who've been here through the dual diagnosis centers. and then go out and interact with their family, with their loved ones again on their path to recovery. And they say, but they're not getting me, they're not hearing me, they're not understanding me. It's kind of like they haven't even seen the change in me. And that's because we can only do so much, but people have also got to allow that change to happen in them. And so we move into this place where other people are still going to look at us in our recovery, despite the fact we've been through 21, 24, 28 days. They're still going to be looking at us in our recovery with the same lenses that they saw us before. And that takes time to change. And we have to understand that. We have to be in a place where we can't rush that. We can't hurry that along so that things move at the pace that we want to. We have to allow space to other people also to move themselves forward so that we can be talking about it in the same way. So as we talk about communication, it's also important, I think, to kind of be in the place to recognize that disagreements do not have to become conflicts, and conflicts don't have to become fights. And it's really important, again, for us to be in this place where, sometimes some of the reasons why we use is because we want to get away from disagreements. We want to get away from conflict, away from arguments. It just becomes too much for us. But it's important for us to be in a place where we're able to disagree with other people, to disagree with them in a positive way, to disagree with them in a way that we can get our version of our truth across. We can hear their version of their truth, and we can begin to make changes and to move things forward from there. Communication is also something that we learn as small children. And because we learn it, and we learn our habits very early, it's also becomes easy for us to take these for granted. So sometimes we also become a little bit blinded to the nuances in the way that we are with each other. So it's really interesting that we will often say please and thank you to everybody around us. But when it's with somebody close to us, we kind of seem to forget that. We take it for granted. And then there's that feeling of, kind of aren't I worthy? Or aren't I important enough for you to say please and thank you to? So we kind of need also to look at the way in which we react to those people around us, to be able to be open with them. So we also kind of can be with our friends, and we can kind of be positive and over the top and exciting and dynamic, and then we go home and it just becomes blah. We kind of find ourselves wallowing in negative emotions and being able to take things from there. So it's important for us to become aware of this, to recognize that sometimes we may use a different set of rules in communicating with the people we're close to, other than with people around us. And if we don't understand this, if we're not aware of this kind of can create difficulties and create challenges for us in our relationships going forward. So the first thing that we need to do, the first step we need to take as we move into the second slide, please, Christy, where we talk about how do we become a better communicator. There's two real steps. The first step is finding the will to self-reflect. Now, those of you who've been through the rehab process know we put a great deal of emphasis on becoming self-aware, of understanding where you are, what your thoughts are, what your emotions are, what kind of physical sensations are happening inside you at the time. Particularly, and we've mentioned the stop exercise before when we briefly spoke about mindfulness and the importance. So becoming self-aware, knowing and finding kind of where am I? So for example, if I'm talking to somebody, are you mindful of where your eyes are focused? And there's plenty of memes out there, guys, that you know about where your eyes are focused when you're talking to women. Okay. Are you able to look somebody in the eye? Are you, or kind of, does your head go from side to side, focus all around? It's one of the clues we look for when you talk with us. Kind of, where do your eyes go? When do you look at us? When don't you look at us? What about the pitch of your voice? Huh? How does the pitch of your voice change when you're excited, you're distracted, you're stressed, or you're comfortable? Huh? So, for example, my wife will say to me, I know you're being defensive now. And I say, what, how? And she said, well, kind of the pitch of your voice kind of rose a bit. It's a good giveaway. So be in that kind of place. Recognize, how does this pitch, the tone of my pitch go? Also look at how loud and how quiet you are. Huh? So when you're talking about something really deep and you're coming across loud and noisy and boisterous, is that kind of appropriate for them? Huh? Or is not sometimes it better just to kind of calm things down, especially if somebody is coming at you, instead of responding with this loudness of voice, to kind of come in and just be a little bit calmer, slow your voice down, become a little bit quiet. Ask yourselves other questions too. In conversations, do you kind of ask yourselves a lot of questions? Are you asking lots of questions? Are you talking more about yourself, or are you inviting other people into the conversations? Then what do you do with your hands? Me, I talk with my hands all the time. It's just one of the things that I do. It's a way of expression. At times, though, kind of I have to learn to kind of tone it down depending on who I am and where I'm with. What do you do with your mouth? What do you do with your eyes while you're listening? Okay? Kind of, you know the feeling when you're talking to people and suddenly kind of their eyes start rolling in their head and you think, oh, hell, they're not even listening to me anymore. Huh? So become aware of what's happening. Huh? See yourself without denial. Don't be defensive. Okay? You have the ability to control whether or not you're smiling or whether you're scowling. The ability to kind of lean forward into somebody if the interaction is really deep and intense, or kind of if it's more relaxed, kind of just sit back, hear a bit more, and kind of from them. So make the time to kind of also invite other people to share with you about how you communicate with them, how they feel when you are talking with them. Because while it might be difficult at the beginning to hear it, at least it gives us the tools to be able to work better with them and to move it on from there. So that's the end of the first step. If you want to kind of carry on and get the second step and some of the other tools that I'm going to teach you, please move across to the private group. So we'll see you there in a minute. Cheers.